Welcome to Look Behind the Look, the new podcast that examines iconic looks in film, television, music, and fashion history. I'm your host, Tiffany Bartok. Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining us. This week my guest is the incredible Daniel Martin, who in the makeup world might be considered class president. He knows absolutely everyone. Everyone knows him. He is kind to everyone and can make anybody feel beautiful. He is also extremely socially conscious and an important voice in the industry and beyond, asking others to rise up and create social change. You're going to hear more about us talking about this in our conversation, but I will also tell you here that Daniel and I talk a little bit about an event that had just happened when we did the interview, and now it's been a couple of weeks, but it's still fresh in all of our minds. Daniel began his career apprenticing at an Aveda concept salon before teaching for the brand regionally, and through Aveda, he met Pat McGrath, and the story unfolds very quickly from there. His career highlights include his contract with Dior Beauty and his consulting for Honest Beauty, and now you can find him shining at Tatcha as the first ever global director of artistry and education for the brand. And I absolutely love Tatcha products, by the way, and no, nobody asked me to say that. Many professional makeup artists swear by prepping the skin with Tatcha products, so definitely check them out. They're great. A quick search of Daniel will bring you an insurmountable amount of videos with tips. They're especially for no makeup and easy makeup, and I found myself watching hours and hours of them in preparation for our conversation, and I instantly was feeling his positive, inclusive, we've known each other for a million years energy beaming through each video. So if you ever want to improve your entire day, I suggest taking a look at them, just having them on in the background. And yes, he is the makeup artist who was that important element to Meghan Markle's royal beauty on her wedding day. But you'll see from our conversation that there's so much more to Daniel, and I am excited to share our conversation with you all. So Daniel, thank you so much for joining me today. I've been wanting to have you on forever. I just started
Aw.
this in September, and one of my best friends is Troy and Nathaniel, and they were like, "Yeah, when are you having Daniel on?" And I was like,
Aw, I love
"I'm
those
done."
boys so much.
They're the
Are
best.
you in the city?
Yes.
Oh my
Are you?
god, yeah, I live on the Upper West Side.
Oh, what?
I
Okay, we're
know.
getting together. I'm half
Yeah.
vaccinated, so
Me
okay.
too, totally. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so we're definitely getting together.
Oh my god.
I can't believe we're talking about like that now. Like it's
I know.
happening. We're actually able to plan like summer and spring get-togethers. It's very
Yeah.
exciting.
We're
Very
turning that COVID corner,
Oh
so
my God, thank God. Thank God.
yeah.
Well, COVID for you has been kind of interesting because you were blessed with this position at Tatcha, like
Yes,
right in the midst of
hallelujah.
it. How did that come to fruition? Had it been in the works before COVID? Oh, okay.
Yeah, totally. So, I saw Vicky, oh gosh, I wanna say it was the summer before the new year, and, she was like, "Look, this," and it was during the time of the acquisition with now Unilever,
Okay.
and, it just came out of the blue, and I was like, "Well, I'm on contract with Dior and Honest Beauty, um, and you would have to, for me to accept this, you would have to get me, basically buy me out of my contract." And then
Dior. Okay.
she came back and they're like, "We can." And at this point, I was 6 years in with Dior, 3 years in at Honest. I have such an incredible relationship with both brands, but I was always able to play with Tatcha because they knew my history with Vicky. They knew that, and both weren't exclusive; they were non-exclusive. So I was able to have my hands with other brands that were non-compete.
Oh, okay.
So I was very
That's great.
fortunate to have that opportunity. But at that point, I was like, I kind of, I would love to get in full time, so to speak, to really get into product development, education,
Mm.
and just kind of slow my roll down. Because that
Yes.
by that point, I was traveling for 3 years straight every month
With Dior.
with your or honest. So if I wasn't in Paris, I was in
Oh.
LA, or I mean, I just was all over the place, and it just got to a point where it's like, I need to slow this down. It's And then the pandemic happened, and hallelujah that I had that Tatcha gig, because I mean, I don't know how. Oh my goodness.
What a
What a
blessing.
year.
But
Yeah.
isn't it every single makeup artist says the best part of the pandemic is being forced to stop traveling. And I know traveling sounds so glamorous, but like what you were heading up the shows, were you traveling to do shoots and work, or was it to promote
Yeah,
line?
so yeah, it was a bit of everything. So up until that point, like 2 months, 2.5 months before we like literally closed the border, I was on a press tour with Elisabeth Moss for Invisible Man.
Oh, which I
So
loved, by the way.
that movie was so good.
So dope.
Um, so it was like Spain, Italy, Paris, London, and then it was like Paris again for the shows.
Oh,
So, and then Sundance in the middle of that. So it was like every month I was on a plane, and then I was actually with Megan the week that the UK and the US were shutting down the
oh,
borders.
wow.
So I was trying to figure out how I was going to get back before I couldn't.
Oh my
Um, So yeah, so once I got home, I'd been home, and it was a it was a blessing in disguise.
For
Like,
sure, for sure, for sure. What's gonna change about all that? I mean, I'm a little bit nervous in the way that I feel like for the press tours and stuff that people will see how easy it can be, and I'm scared for people to lose their jobs and things like that. But have you been hearing any buzz about how things like that are gonna work now so that we're not exhausting a whole team with a press junket? Or
right.
I mean, I
Um,
suppose the jobs won't really go away, but maybe they'll just find ways to make it easier.
yeah, yeah, I think this world of virtual
Yeah.
will definitely play more, because they realize that they can get the same information out, not necessarily having to bring the talent to the country. They could all
Right.
do it remotely. So that may change. I think people want to get back into some sort of normalcy, but at the same time, you'll have to have precautions, and you'll have to have testing. And like last week, I was at 30 Rock with Maya Rudolph for SNL, and it was like every day that I was there, I had to get rapid tested. So, and then they had like COVID cops on set. So you had to have your face shields and your masks, and like they would get you if you had your mask up, or like if you weren't 6 feet apart, they'd come and like push you away. So I think the production companies have all figured out how to manage that lay of the land, but it's going to be, you know, time
Different.
for us to be like, okay, just be a bit more cautious
Mhm.
and just understand space. And it's
Understand
just,
space, yes.
yeah, and it's going to take a lot of time.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'll be interested to see what happened. I know that SNL is doing everything right, but, it sounds like they're, like, one of the only ones that really, like, are just very
Yeah,
adamant about everything, so that
yeah.
must have
But
been a lot of fun working on Maya last
it
week.
was, it was, and just to learn how the whole institution works.
Of
Like,
SNL?
yeah,
Yeah.
because I've been a fan of that show since high school, and like have watched it religiously up until this point. So just to see how everything moves, and the collaboration process between the writers and the talent, and even their like the makeup department team, it's
Oh,
amazing.
they are the gold standard, I feel like
It's
such a
like
well-oiled machine
a
as far as
hundred
union jobs
percent.
go. I remember when I was, like, wanting to do makeup for TV and film, and they all said, unless you train yourself at SNL, you have to find a way in at SNL." They're like, offered to and I wrote a letter asking to mop the floor.
Oh my God, that's
I was like,
amazing.
"I will mop the floor." Never got it was a handwritten letter. I don't know if it got there. I don't know.
Aw.
I
Yeah,
don't
that was one thing that I'm pissed about, was that John D and I, who was doing my hair, we got invited to their room, to the makeup department head room, and we never had a chance to go because we were so busy. But
oh,
like, I just to
I
see
wanna see, I
everything,
wanna
and I
see.
know he would actually be great to have on. I think his name is Louis, and
Oh,
he's been there
yes.
25
Yes,
years.
Louis. I know, and he can do a bald cap like no other. It is
Yeah.
just I know. He's an icon for sure. Yes, I definitely would love to have that. I wanted to ask you oh, you're from Seattle, I'm from Portland.
Oh, you are?
Yes,
Oh, have you
so
gone home? Oh, well, I mean, sorry.
no, I had a huge trip planned for July that got canceled, so I have
Uh,
not been home for quite some time, but, it
yeah.
is the best. Have you been there recently?
I haven't. I mean, I haven't
No.
been there since high school,
Oh my
so
gosh,
I
Daniel.
know. So I need to like go down to Portland. I have some friends in Eugene that I want to
Oh, okay.
see. My niece is in she's outside of Portland, so like
Aw.
I definitely want to make my way down. But it's funny after Portlandia came out, it's just like I mean, how
I
does your friends
know.
and family feel about that show?
I mean, they loved it just because people could see how special Portland was. They didn't see it
Mhm.
as an insult at all, but, I think they didn't like how, like, now this area is 22,000 because Fred Armisen lives there or, for renting
Oh,
the space and, like, all that stuff for shoots or whatever. So it became a little bit
that's
more
funny.
expensive, where they heard where the
Oh,
tourist spots were. So I think they didn't like that. That was the
gotcha.
only thing, but it was, I mean, pretty spot on.
Yeah.
The show.
Oh my god, that's so funny. Because
Yes.
it totally reignited my interest of Portland again because, I mean, when
Oh,
I
yeah.
left in the '90s, it was so different.
Oh, yeah. I left in '97. Yeah,
Mm.
97, and then came to New York, but yeah, it was v when I visit, it's very different. I loved how Fred said once, like, it's a very emotional city, and it was funny, he was talking to Terry Gross about it, and I was like, "That is such the word, it's such an emotional city," just
Wow.
like, everybody's so dramatic and carries the weight of the world, but yet this, like, laissez-faire attitude. It's interesting.
Could you
Um
move back?
I could move back. I could
Oh, you
easily move
could.
back, but my husband, yeah, he's a New Yorker.
I
I mean, I
know, so
love
is
New York.
mine.
Really? I
Yeah.
mean
No, I know exactly what you're going through.
I'm like, "Come on." I think we have to wait till we're, like, 70, which is
Yeah.
fine. But I do know the feeling and the status of working the Mac counter at Nordstrom. That because when I was growing up, that's where I got my first, you know, 8 things from Mac, and it had a little thing like this, a little stand, and, like, there was Studio Fix
Oh,
and maybe
wow.
Shag and Yogurt, and I would just, like, covet the MAC cosmetics, and so that's where you got your start, is that right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
and then,
My
like
first job at Nordstrom's was gift wrapping, and then the Mac counter opened, and they knew that I was an art history major, and they saw that I like could do makeup, so they asked me to join. So it was really awesome.
wait, so it was, like, the first counter at
Yeah, it
Nordstrom?
was the first counter at Nordstrom.
How exciting, and
Yeah,
which
Westlake Center.
okay, Westlake Center,
Yeah.
that is exciting, and so you felt like you arrived I mean, that's all you really needed at that point, right?
Yeah, I
It's
mean, it
star
was like,
quality.
and it was like when they opened, I mean, like they had drag queens and they had these like
Yes.
club kids with like plastic wigs and platform shoes. And at that point, I was like, I knew I always wanted to get to New York, but it was like Paper Magazine, Interview
Mhm.
Magazine, that whole thing that was happening on the East Coast was what I wanted to be a part of because I mean, you too, being from Portland, like we kind of grew up with grunge before grunge was
Yeah.
grunge.
Yeah.
So like I saw Mudhoney, Nirvana, all those bands at all ages clubs for free.
Yeah, yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, Seattle, Seattle, Seattle. And I was like, I need to get the fuck out. Like, I, these aren't my people.
That is too funny. I remember visually seeing, like, when my son asks me about, like, the hippie trend or eras, certain eras. I mean, I can remember visually seeing that wave of grunge, just come in and take over, and then feeling like we were so a part of something that was becoming so
Mhm.
famous, and then, it became something else, and
Yeah,
we have definite bragging rights being able to see those bands on the ground floor for sure. That was pretty
totally,
exciting stuff.
totally.
And being able
Yeah.
to see Mac in its glory, and it was first evolving. It's something that I don't know. I'm always talking about the kids today and how they,
But it's
you know,
so
so
true. It's
true. It's so
so
true.
different.
It very, very. There
How
was
old is
nothing
your
like
son?
he's 12. Yeah, he's 12. So I think and he didn't know Portland at all. I gotta get
Mm,
him there. But, I think that there's nothing like the culture of the department store, and I don't know if it'll ever come back, where you got to do every type of face and, everybody would come to the counter and say, "Make me look like RuPaul." Well, at the time, right? It was like, boy, girl, anything. It was, make me look like RuPaul. And like, it was such an amazing culture that I don't know if like the Sephora has, because that's only makeup.
Right. And I think because Mac was so much about the artistry,
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was. Yeah.
that too, I think is different because now
True.
everyone's basing education off of social.
Yes.
And there's this whole homogenous kind of look that's come in that everyone is expecting to either
Right.
get or try to learn. And you don't, I don't know, it's such a different beast now because back then it was so, you had Bobby Brown, and a little later it was like Laura Mercier and stuff like that. So you had your makeup artist brands who had their own point of difference, but Mac was just like pure artistry.
Expression.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very interesting. Now you think that they what do they wanna look like? They wanna look like an Instagram artist? Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just, it's
And it's hard to make faces look like an altered face. Right.
right. Or you do so much makeup that you think that having that filtered look is what you need to achieve. And that's
Oh,
even worse. Do you know what I mean?
yes. Yes.
So,
Oh,
yeah,
it's
don't get me
sad.
started.
Ah! I hear you. But your claim to fame is really like this clean, beautiful. I mean, you can simply say no makeup, makeup, but like I feel like, everybody is always referring to your style, and really just making the person look like their best self. And that's something
Right.
that's much harder than it looks, much harder than it looks. And
Which
what
is
is
so,
it's
I mean,
funny.
sorry to cut you up.
No,
Yeah, it's just
not at
funny
all.
to me because, I mean, working in fashion's literally no makeup, makeup.
Right. And, like,
You
one
know what I
thing yeah,
mean?
the
Yeah.
skin and yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
you were
it's,
raised by Pat McGrath, right?
yeah, I assisted her back in, well, I met her in 97
Okay.
and then
Here
started
in New York.
work. Actually, she did a capsule collection for Aveda.
Okay.
So I met her through them and I used to
When
teach
you were
for Aveda. Yeah. So I didn't get to New York until I reconnected with her the end of 99. And then I started assisting on her show team. But I was only with her for like less than a year and realized that it wasn't sustainable because I'd moved up here full time. I was broke,
Yeah.
like, and then trying to wait to get paid.
It's
So it
not
was just like,
glamorous.
nope. I was like, she needs a job. She needs to pay this rent. So then I went
Yes.
back and got a job at Aveda doing in the sales and education department, which then went into marketing. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so that's how I kind of got my foot wet with product development and stuff. Because Aveda was still small, a small
Yes.
team back then.
And you were in the color part of it? You were
Yeah.
in when did they launch their makeup line?
Oh God, they
I
launched
feel like it
makeup. It used to be called Indra,
Really?
and yeah,
I
in
didn't
the
know that.
like late 80s, early 90s.
Stop.
Yeah, so they've had makeup forever.
I didn't know this about Aveda. I need to go to
Yeah.
Aveda school.
It was incredible education for me. It really
Really?
was. Yeah.
And then this
Um,
is before they were acquired by Estee Lauder?
yeah, I think Lauder bought them in 97.
Okay.
Um, and it was around the same time that I want to say that Bobby Brown got purchased as well.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, they had, I mean, they still have makeup.
Oh, yes, I know.
Um,
I love Aveda, I really do, but I remember a distinct shift in pre-Estee and post,
yeah,
which was more skews and, but it was very, like,
yeah.
lots of food, there was, like, bars, and it was like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's kinda like Banana Republic. Remember when Banana Republic was, like, wooden floors and, it was that kinda shift where it just became a little bit more organized and, like, I remember the raw Aveda, it was more earthy or,
Yeah,
you know
yeah, yeah, when it was still Horace, the founder, because I think
Yeah.
he bought the building that the Fifth Avenue Aveda store was at.
Okay.
So that was his building,
Oh,
and then he had
wow.
the store on the ground floor. It's like 5th and 8th Street.
Yes, yes, I know
Um,
it. It's still there, yes. Mhm.
and then, that was I don't know if that was the flagship before the Institute, but then when the Institute happened because of Lauder. Um,
I see, okay.
yeah.
Okay, okay. I know the institute well because that's where I used to get all my facials when I was broke.
Oh, yeah. I know when they had the
"Practice on
students
me,
doing totally. Oh my god,
practice on me,
amazing,
please."
totally. Oh, that's so awesome.
But it's the look of your natural beauty, that obviously appealed to Meghan Markle and sort of you had been doing makeup for years before this epic wedding, and, can you talk about that? How that fits into your life, that it happens a lot where, you are going along and you have a very accomplished, amazing career, and then you become a household name because of this iconic
So
event.
crazy.
And I mean, how does it feel to you? I mean, now it's
Um,
been a couple years and you've been digesting it this whole time, I'm sure.
yeah, I think it's easier to digest because we're real friends.
Right.
So, like, I think it'd be a bit different if I was just hired, because then having that stigma of, "Oh, you're Meghan Markle's makeup artist." You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
That would, like, drive me apeshit crazy, to be
Sure.
honest.
I know, I completely
Um, do you know what I mean? Like, if you're always
absolutely.
that person's always gonna step before your talent.
Mhm.
Um, but I've been friends with Megan for 10 years, and, when they announced the engagement, we were still in touch, but I just never thought that she would ask. It just never, I just because at that point we're all like, okay, she's in a whole different stratosphere,
Yeah.
everything's different, but we still kept in touch. And then when she asked me, she literally texted me.
Oh,
So
stop.
I
I
was
love
like,
that.
okay. And then I'm like, but how does this work?
How does this even what next?
Yeah, because it's like, how, like, I'm in New York, she's in London. How do we coordinate a trial?
Oh,
Like,
yeah, I forgot about the trial aspect
yeah,
and, like, developing yeah. How did that
we
work?
it all was on Pinterest and texting.
Stop it. That's so
Yeah.
sweet.
And at that point, we had been working with each other for so long that I knew what she wanted.
Yep.
So it was kind of easy. And then literally the day of was just like us reconnecting, getting back together. And again, like I think if we weren't friends and we didn't know each other so well, it'd be a whole different dynamic.
Yeah. Have you had an experience like that where it's a big event and you're kinda nervous and you're hired for the event
Oh
and there's a
yeah,
lot
like the
on the
Met
line?
Gala.
The Met Gala, okay, that's another look. Okay,
Um,
let's put a pin in that one because I do wanna talk to you about the Met Gala as well.
yeah, so there's been situations, or like a cover
A cover.
of with someone really special. So it's just, you kind of have to come prepared. I mean, I love Pinterest for that reason, because it's literally like my mood board. So if a
Mhm.
photographer is like, this is where I'm thinking, then I can just pull up my Pinterest and, like, I just have a ton of folders with all these images. So it's all like these historical references or makeup that I love. So much of it is 90s.
Oh my God,
'Cause
please. I know. Why? Of course it is. Of course, because you're smart. Um,
so yeah, it's just
so
you got
you
to be
guys
prepared.
traded Pinterest boards, and then did you know Serge was doing the hair
No.
or
So
oh!
that was the kicker. So I didn't know what she was wearing, and I didn't know who was doing her hair until the morning of the wedding.
So you and Serge just, like, saw each other there?
Oh my god. It was like having not seen, like, a relative for, like, years, because I was coming in one way and he was coming down the stairs, and we both locked eyes, and it was just like this, like, sigh
Oh,
of relief
I feel
because I
so
was
emotional for some reason, I don't know why.
well, it's I mean, it's just I don't at the end of the day, we wanted to make sure our friend looked her best.
Exactly.
And I mean, I'm sure you know this, but like when you work with someone really well, you know that everything's going to be okay. And up to that point, there was just so much happening, you know, outside of our bubble that we had no control over. So we
Right,
just
right.
wanted to feel like, okay, we want to make sure that she's taken care of, but how do we do that? And
Yeah,
so much of it is the rapport that you have with the hairdresser or the designer
yeah.
or whoever you're collaborating with. So literally, when he came walking down the stairs, it was just like, ugh,
Oh, I
because if you're not vibing with the rest of the crew, oh
know.
my
You feel
God,
so
the talent,
alone.
yeah, and the talent feels it, and they're
Yeah.
the ones that needs to be taken care of.
Right, right. I mean, are you of that thought that it is the client that is the most you can tell I heard you saying in an interview, I watched it so many, with you, and that's what I love about you is you're in the corporate world and you are a brand ambassador, but yet you're so honest, and I love that about you. I think it's so refreshing and wonderful. But you were saying that, you can feel when the talent or the client feels their best. Is that an instinct thing or is it just something that makes you a special makeup artist? Because I feel like a lot of people don't have that chip, and they
Right,
just put their own
right.
thing on somebody's face.
Right. I think it's important because I mean, it's like when you put on something like clothes and when it fits so well, you feel good in it. You
Yes.
should feel like that with your makeup.
Mhm.
Your
Mhm.
makeup should never feel like something that's going to hide who you are.
No.
And there's some people that love that full beat down that feels like, okay, once this is on, it's kind of like armor. So
Armor.
it separates the persona of that person to the rest of the world, which is totally fine. But if you aren't feeling good, you don't take good pictures. That's just
Yeah.
a fact.
Mhm. Mhm.
So part of
Mhm.
my job is to make sure that you feel your best and to also trust me with what it is that you want to express. Because
Mm.
if you can't share how you want to feel, that's a whole different ballgame.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? So it's
Yes.
almost like I need to figure out what makes you feel most beautiful so I can make you feel proud of putting yourself out there.
Wow. Wow, that is so essential for those press junkets like you do, because they have to feel I feel like I was looking at one with Elisabeth Moss that you did, and, she looked very different in each shot, in each, interview, but always super confident, and it's what you're talking about, it's a balance of it being armor because it is a character, but it's also so soft and pretty, and
Yeah.
that's what makes you such a great artist, I think.
I think too, because of the women that I work with, they play a character.
Ah.
So when they're not working, they just want to look pretty.
Yeah, simple.
Yeah. I mean, for
Yeah,
handmaids, Lizzie is literally in no makeup and just
right.
looking just ratchet and just like beat down. So when she's like herself, she just wants to feel good and look pretty.
Yeah. It's true, she very rarely gets to do that since Peggy's gone away.
Right, right, totally,
She's
totally.
murdering people and getting revenge,
Right.
doing all this great scenery chewing. So
Totally.
so about the Met Ball, so that's very different. So that's not you weren't doing your friend, you were doing Ruth, yeah?
Oh, yeah, Ruth's amazing, so
And
talented.
And how did that come about? You must have been so excited. You're like, "Oh, it's a Met Gala. You
Yeah,
wanna do it?"
totally,
Was
totally.
that
And
camp
then
year? Camp
yeah, that was
okay.
camp year. So also too, you have to really understand their themes in particular because it could
Ah.
either borderline go very camp or not enough. So
Oh
there's
gosh,
a
that's worse, right? Not
yeah,
enough is
yeah.
worse.
They had their vision for the talent, and then you also have to appease the talent themselves. So her camp was the big hair, yeah, very exaggerated. So I was like, okay, let's really give your brows like a really
That's
hard
what I was just gonna
arch.
say. How did you do those brows? Because
Yeah,
those are some brow goals.
yeah. I mean, she has a really high arch naturally, but I really exaggerated it. So
Nice.
that was kind of like the camp element. I think
Okay.
if I took her makeup any further, she would almost look like she's trying too hard.
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
So
mhm.
it's like, where do you find that balance of like nodding the theme without losing integrity of who you are? Because if you're not comfortable with what hair and makeup is done, you're not going to feel good in that dress. And then it looks bad in the picture, and then the designer's pissed that like something's off.
And
Yeah.
it's all designer centric for the Met Ball.
Yes.
Yes, it's
Yes.
you must
100%.
okay. So has there ever been a situation or a fear that you might upstage or not be in alignment with the designer?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Usually with the Met Gala, the, talent's going with the designer. So
Got
either
it,
the
got it.
designer will be there through the whole time, and this is kind of like their moment with their Barbie doll, so to
Yes,
speak,
yes, yes.
or their team has sent references, and then you have this to play off of.
Got it.
Um, yeah, so, I mean, you can kinda go back and look at pictures and just, like, see the cringeworthy looks over the years, and you're like, "Something's off here, but I
Somebody
can't."
wasn't if in alignment here.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Interesting, interesting. Um, and then another look I wanted to talk to you about was Gemma Chan. You did a lot of work
Oh,
with
yeah.
Gemma, and this is super sexy. And I wanted to ask you specifically how you made the lashes or the eyes or something is really inviting and like sexy about this, yet it still looks like every not everyday makeup. I mean, I wish this was my everyday makeup, but it's
That was
glamorous, but it's still
yeah.
simple.
I think that was the last shot of the
Oh.
day,
Oh, well,
and it was literally
magical.
they set up this, like, they wanted to create this, like, backstage element. So literally, she was just in the mirror waiting for them to adjust the lights when the photographer was like, "Oh my God, stay there." And that's where you get the best pictures too, is it was like this candid moment. Her makeup never changed, the looks changed through that day. But literally that was the last shot, and she was just like hanging out, her arms were on the mirror, and just and he oh God, I can't remember if it was a he or she. I think it was a male photographer, just started shooting her. And that's what he caught. And it was so beautiful because it was just this moment that wasn't posed, it wasn't forced. And I think that's what comes through.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's completely
Yeah.
effortless. It's
But
beautiful.
she's amazing. And she just like, I learned a lot about like, I've learned a lot of new makeup stuff from Gemma actually.
Oh, really? Like
Yeah, she
what?
had like she introduced me to the Benefit eyebrow gel.
I have it on right now. I,
Oh
am
my God, that stuff is
obsessed.
magic.
Why is it so
Like
good? I know.
for her, she was like, "This is the only brow gel I use, and this is why." And I was like, "Oh my God," because Asians have like really straight, long brows,
Yeah.
and they just don't hold. And this one, just the way she did, I was like, "Okay, I need this in my kit." And like, she has this mascara trick where she takes a wand from one mascara and the formula from another mascara and that's her combination.
I
I
love
can't yeah, I can't remember what the mascaras were, but they were like maybe I think it was like L'Oreal. Like
how do
the
you think she
formula was
came to
L'Oreal.
the oh, the The what? Voluminous? Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but they're different in the UK. The
Oh, of course.
So she
Always.
has this way of, yeah, and it was just awesome. I was like, "Oh my god."
That is
Yeah.
too funny. I know when I go to the UK or somebody goes, I make them bring me back Elnet because of
Oh, yeah.
the size of the aerosol, and I just everybody says, "But I saw this at the store," and I'm like, "No."
Right.
Oh my
It's not the
goodness.
same.
They don't understand, Daniel. And then I was looking up the, the Italian Vogue that you worked on. You did Veronica Webb, and then came across this shoot, um,
Yeah, that
because
was
I guess
fun.
Veronica Webb and you, I love Veronica. She's
Yeah,
a
she's
love.
amazing.
Amazing, and so you've done so much amazing work together. I know she has melasma. Um,
Yeah.
I I don't think I'm outing her or anything. I mean, she talks
Oh,
about
no, no, no,
okay.
she's very open about it. Yeah, 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 yeah.
But
Yeah.
what are some tricks that you remember doing with that? Do you have to use correction or
Yeah, I use, oh gosh, it's Krylon
oh,
Dermacolor, not
flage?
Derma Blend, Derma Flash,
Flage,
or
yes, yes, okay.
yeah, so, and there's just something about that particular formula that just really
Ah,
grabs onto foundation
okay.
when you put it on top of it, so you correct with it. And then, I'll just use a light dusting of powder just to set that, and then I can go over it with foundation, and it locks down.
Nice. Well, her skin looks flawless. And then do you remember when this shoot was?
Yeah, so that was a lookbook shoot for our friend Sophie Thiele's line. So her and Sophie have known each other for like, I think almost like 30 years.
Wow.
Because Sophie used to work under Azadine Alaya,
Oh,
and Veronica was like his daughter.
wow. Yeah.
So they've known each other forever. But Sophie used to live here in New York, and we were
Sophie
shooting her
worked
lookbook.
under Asdean. Okay, got it.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. And she worked under Jean Paul Gaultier as well.
Wow. And this was her first lookbook?
That was her oh gosh, good question. I wanna say Sophie won the CFDA, um, oh god, s 7 years ago? Almost 10 years ago, maybe? Um, that was pretty well into her tenure here. Like, I don't know what season that
Got it.
was, but that was a lookbook shoot for her. Sophie is now living in Montreal. She moved to
Okay.
Montreal. And she's still designing and stuff. But yeah, so that was a lookbook shoot,
And then
and
the Italian Vogue shoot, that was that was 2008. That was I know. I know.
crazy.
What
Oh my
which
god.
brought me to this whole train of thought that I wanted to explore with you about, diversity and how that was 2008. That was Italian Vogue, and I I don't know, how why was it so long ago, and then what happened 2009
I
through
know.
where what's happening with diversity, Daniel? What's happening? Are we getting
It's
anywhere?
a hot mess, girl.
I
I don't
know.
it's
I I'm worried and
I
I
mean, I think about your 12-year-old son.
I
Do you know what
know.
I mean? Like, I wonder what they're all thinking. Like, this should have all, not necessarily, I mean, it would have, in a incredible world, it would have been fixed by now, but obviously it's not. And I feel like we're even digressed to when, us dealing with the Rodney King situation back in 1990.
My god, and now it's
Like,
just George Floyd, and it's like,
yeah,
it's what was that, 1992 Rodney King?
yeah. So it's like, why haven't we as a culture figured this shit out? Like,
No.
it's disgusting, and it's gotten to a point where it's just pure hate.
Right. And what is making it that? Is it why is it so hurtful and strong? Is it because of the anonymity of social media? I mean, is it it's I'll tell you something. Can I tell you something?
I know I didn't prepare you for this, and we don't
No, no, no. Tell me, girl. I am all about it. Not being
I wanted
scripted.
to have when AAPI Stop Asian Hate was the hashtag like 2 weeks ago almost, like, or 3. I was like, I said to Kelly, should we do one on this? Should we have a conversation on this on the podcast? And then we decided that we were too nervous to handle the conversation. Okay. Because I was scared of saying the wrong thing and whatnot. And I was going to like call Kathleen Howe and, from the cut and see if she
Mhm.
wanted to come on to talk to you about this, Daniel. And, she said, I just don't know how we navigate the comments, what happens if we misstep. And that made me so devastated because here we are having a platform where we're able to have these conversations, and yet we're scared of saying the wrong thing and it having us shut our whole thing down. So, wouldn't it be better if I made the mistake in front of you and you can just correct me and you can say, Tiffany, this is how we need to think about things from now on, and I'm
Yeah.
having it in public. I view that as really healthy. And, I made a lot of mistakes with BLM. And then I was able to have people that I trust and love correct me, go, no, no. And that I can have the conversation. But now I feel like everybody is so afraid that we don't ever get to have the conversation. Like Kathleen Howe deleted her whole social media.
Right, right.
What
I
are
mean,
you
that was
seeing?
just, I mean, the thing is that, you know, BLM and what's happening now are two separate situations.
100%, right? That's the first
W-
thing.
Yeah. So I feel like at the end of the day, it's a human rights issue.
Yes.
And it's unfortunate that it's targeted to the AAPI community because they're an easy target. And it goes back to the rhetoric of the last administration.
Uh-huh.
So if they didn't plant the seed
Yeah.
and say that this virus that no one knew anything about came out of China, it didn't imprint in everyone's brain that this was hurting so many people.
Yeah.
So that's the core of this misinformation right now.
Mhm, mhm.
And then, mental illness, whoever took that information and now is seeing that, okay, the AAPI community is what's caused this. So let me go after. But like what happened yesterday on
Oh,
43rd
I
Street,
saw that.
that was just pure hate.
Yeah.
And we got to come together to feel like, okay, when we see shit like that happen, we need to say something because those 3 guys who witnessed that and just closed the door, they're just as complicit as the dude who did what he did to that woman.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
we need to see, if we see something, we need to say something, we need to nip it in the bud. And that's where the education starts. That's where the empathy starts.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I just feel like instead of trying to figure out what the best protocol or best way to handle this is, just go with your gut instinct. If you see something, you have to say something. You know what I mean? I don't
And
know where we lost empathy.
is it because we're too scared to get involved? Is there a consequence for getting involved? Okay, so we need to reward people for getting involved, right? What do
Or acknowledge, or I mean, I don't know. It's so
right?
bizarre because literally all 3 men just stood there.
I know. And
And
close
then
the
the one and
door.
closed the door. So I I I mean, if I
It's
saw something, I would have run out. I would have, if he was across the street, at least acknowledged her. But they literally just stood there and watched. And then, I mean, I wonder what those guys are thinking now because the whole world is looking at them.
I
They're like,
mean, have
what?
they had anything to say for themselves? No, it hasn't been revisited. We don't know
No.
where that has gone.
Yeah.
Right. I wish that there was some kind of law that you were breaking by being complicit.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? It seems there's no consequence for being complicit with something, but there is a consequence for being involved. Like, I guess they thought they would get hurt. I mean, these 3 tough guys.
Right. Or accused of doing that to her. I don't know.
Ah,
Like
interesting.
it's that just the fact that they like the one guy who was the delivery guy, he literally saw her get kicked in the head. So there's one person that witnessed that
Right.
whole entire situation, and then you see the 2 other guys come in and then shut the door.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't make sense. And I think that's
No.
what we're all grappling at, is the fact that no one stood up for her or no one inquired about what had happened. Um, they just let it happen.
Yeah. But now what's I did see at the Arlo Hotel, did you hear about
Oh,
that?
yeah.
They seem to be holding the hotel responsible, right, for basically accusing the child of stealing the
Yeah.
phone. So I guess that's what we could do is hold that venue responsible.
Yeah, yeah. So I know that there was a call to action to the management company, I think it was Brodsky, who
Ah,
managed that apartment building, who then put out this statement saying that the doormen, because they're union, are suspended without pay and then being investigated.
okay,
And also the delivery guy who was there.
okay.
So they're doing their due diligence, but like you said, what is the consequence for those men who did nothing?
Right. That's what needs to happen. Yes, and what
Yeah.
what else can we do? What resources can we
I
do?
mean, AAPI, stopasianhate.org is a great organization.
Okay.
They list so much where you can donate, where you can help. I know that there's other local um, organizations that you can either donate to, but so much of it is just education
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
and
And
just checking
world
in on your
knowledge and checking in on your friends, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. um I mean, I have to admit, like, I signed up for like self-defense classes this week
Mm.
because like I just don't want to be put in a situation that I can't get myself out of. And this is the first time living in New York, I've been here over 20 years, that I feel like this.
Oh, I don't like hearing that.
I haven't taken the subway in months just because I'm like, I don't want to have to deal with that shit.
Wow.
Yeah. It's the
I mean,
first time I've ever felt like I'm a target,
it
and
really
it's
feels
fucked
like
up.
moving backwards in time. I mean,
Yeah.
truly.
I
And
mean,
then
it's like bad 80s New York without the creativity.
that is so accurate, right? Yeah. Oh my god. And then what about the call to beauty brands for, taking a stand? How do you feel about that?
I mean, every brand is different.
Mhm.
And, as long as they make the acknowledgement, um, and then I know like we at Tatcha, we donated to a few charities, but again, it's having these conversations with your teams. We need more representation in C-suite positions. We just need more visibility. Even in journalism, like in the beginning, these stories weren't being reported because there were no mainstream journalists of Asian descent that would bring it to its attention. No one on that
Ah,
Anderson Cooper level or Rachel Maddow
right, of
level.
course.
I mean, I think in the 80s we had like Connie Chung,
Connie
but
Chung,
like
that was it.
that was it. Ann Colt is it Ann, not Ann Coulter, Ann Curry, who's
Yeah,
biracial.
right.
She never really spoke about, her being Asian, but she was kind of like the last
Isn't that
on
interesting?
television.
Yeah. Mhm,
Lisa Ling, who's now on CNN,
mhm.
but she's a correspondent. So, and she's using her platform now, but there's not a lot.
Right, 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 right. Well, so what we can do is just pay attention right now, right?
Yeah,
And really deeply, deeply listen.
yeah,
Yes, because it's shocking to me to hear these stories and see these events, but, until I saw them, even in social media and on the news as of recently. I I truly I didn't realize that it was all coming up again like this because we're in our bubble that, of course, would never consider these behaviors, these thoughts, these things. So you have to show the ugly things in order to
Yeah.
confront them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
we've been living in a bubble, I think, in New York for so long
It's true. It's
that
true.
when these things happen, it's like a wake up call.
I think that the more divided we become, somebody said to me that it was good to have those 4 years of division because we truly would have just gone and operating on a level of superiority and not ever knowing that this underbelly existed until they were
Right.
empowered to speak out. And then we're like,
Right.
wow, I'm not in
Yeah.
a time machine. This is happening in my decade.
Hmm.
Wow. But yeah, it's
I just
true.
hope it gets better for your son.
It's so funny you should say that because I was showing him a document, I think on Stacey Abrams or one, and it was social. It was a social documentary, and I was showing him stuff from the '60s, and Selma was in the footage, and my son said, "Turn this off. I don't want to see this. Is scary." And then I said, "You have to see what all these people came from, what all these people." And he said to me, and I just wanted to die. He said, "This is happening at the Barclays Center, Mom. I can see it anytime, and it's really
Uh,
scary." And I was like, "Oh my God, it's happening in his." This is real news for him. It's the past
right.
for me, and now it's happening again. He's like, "I can see this level of anger and violence at any time on my daily
Mm,
news." And he was like, "I need a break from all of it." And I was like,
yeah.
"Wow, I forgot that we're there
Right.
again."
Right. Right.
So
Wow. That's so interesting.
it's lucky in a way that he's able to hear all of this as it's happening, and I feel this generation will be so empowered to take positive action and be an
Yeah.
incredible generation and be the most powerful to create change, really.
Yeah.
But it's sad that they have to revisit all this,
Yeah.
you
I
know.
mean, yeah, it's interesting to see the city kids
Yeah, yeah.
um go through all of this and then look at kids who aren't, and like I look at my nieces and nephews who are in Seattle and or like in a suburb outside of Seattle, and it's so different.
Yeah.
And just the perspectives of what's happening socially has been really, really interesting.
How are they
Um,
seeing it?
they, they, I think they're just removed
Mhm. Mhm.
because
Mhm.
it's not in their face, whereas your son is literally walking outside and he's seeing all of this.
Right.
He's
Yeah.
experiencing all of this,
Yeah. Yeah.
and there is an awareness and a like a toughness
Yeah.
being a city kid.
But the
Um,
most empathy ever, which is
yes,
the
yes,
blessing of all of it. Yeah.
right, 100%,
Thank
a
God for that. It's the only
100%.
positive thing, but it is quite positive. So, and
Yeah,
it's what it will take. The empathy, I guess, is the key that we're taking away from seeing all of this.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
I can't believe I sidetracked you with all of that. But and
No, this was
but isn't
awesome.
it funny how I think it's people think the big thing about this particular podcast is that, we have a lot of listeners that are makeup junkies and are, of the elite circle of beauty, but also a lot of people who don't realize that makeup artists think about these things. They
Oh my
think
God, yeah,
we just are worried about that perfect lip, or, how do you do a natural smoky eye? And this whole world of beauty gives everybody access to a mosaic of people. And I mean, that was the best part about working at the counter, right? You had every type of person. I mean, some people,
100%.
let's be honest, were freaking homeless, and they were like, they just wanted a break from it. And you know what? Sometimes you just did their makeup anyway, and you knew they weren't going to buy anything.
Yeah,
And like, it was somebody off the street who just wanted to play.
yeah.
And that's what made us all so leveled
And I think
there.
too, like we makeup brings people together because of how it makes them feel. This pandemic definitely like was a wake-up call for me and how I understand what makeup can do and the power that it gives. But also, you know, as it brings us together, we really need to understand that there is life outside of it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's beautiful and it's exhilarating and it makes, you know, it gives you that empowerment. But at the same time, it's, you know, you have to be very aware of everything else.
Yes, yes, yes. Uh, how have you redefined or altered your purpose in this? Like, you are at Tatcha, you are at the, I'd say, corporate level, you know, like, not to sound, but you can make a big difference with business, right? Business of beauty. How have you changed or thought that makeup is more?
I think for me and for where the brand wants to go is Vicky always, the founder of Tatcha, Victoria Sai, has always told me that I'm in the business of taking care of people's skin. I'm not in the skincare business.
Mm.
So
Mhm. I like
always
that.
having that in the back of my mind, whether we're creating new products or how we're, you know, um, even relating to customers, is always going to be something that's more nurturing and more,
Mm.
you know, I don't want to say self-care. You know, I guess it is self-care, but you have to break that. You have to take the salesy part out.
Yeah.
And it's so much about the connection of the product to the person. And I think right now, because the whole business is flooded with all of these like celebrity brands and skincare brands that don't really have a point of difference, it's really confusing to the consumer to understand what's good for their skin or not.
Interesting. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, you're spending so much money now to find that one product that really works for you. So I think you know, what brands need to do now is really connect with a person on an emotional level
Mhm.
because trends are fleeting. You
Yeah.
know, what could be hot on TikTok right now, give it a week and it's gone.
Yeah.
So it's this, you know, entrapment of catch up that you're playing to either pump out new product or pump out like a trend that's trending. But at the end of the day, you need to connect with the consumer and it
Yes.
needs to be authentic. So I think that's what people are going to be shopping for is that authentic connection, that story that resonates with them, not so much about like the hot new eyeshadow color or, you know, the 820 skincare step. Like,
I know. I really like how Tatcha is like the water cream is good for
mhm,
every skin type. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And it's true. It's beautiful and works on everybody. And I
yeah.
think things like that are real. You know, rather than it's something that'll make you. You know, as we know, with aging, our skin behaves differently, and you can use it for a whole
Totally.
lifetime. You know.
Yeah.
I can't ever believe I had oily skin, like, please bring it back.
Right. Totally. Oh my God. Yeah, I feel like this pandemic has completely threw my skin out of whack.
Oh
So
my
I'm still
god.
trying to
You said
figure
you
out
had
what's
eczema in some of it, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still suffering. Like the last week, I think because it was such a busy week, I would scratch my arm and it would
Oh.
hive up.
Oh
Like,
god. That's stress.
yes.
Stress.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's just like trying to figure out and balance out everything because it's
I
getting older
know.
sucks. But then on top of it, like trying to figure out your skin is even worse.
There's a reason they call it science, I guess.
Right, right.
Well, I
Totally.
am so happy for and you're loving Jones Road Beauty, right? Is that what
Oh
I've
my
been
God,
hearing?
yeah.
Yes.
And just like to be able to have this newfound relationship with Bobby Brown,
Yeah.
who's an icon,
Yeah.
like she's the coolest woman ever. Like, oh my God. She's just, I mean, there's a reason why she is who she is. And she's so like giving of her knowledge. Like,
Yeah, definitely.
really incredible.
I love seeing this phase of her because I just feel like, you know, I I'm surprised by it, and I'm surprised that it's so simple, and
Yeah,
I love all of the stuff, and I just
it's so good.
welcome it, and I think it's
Yeah,
a perfect time for her to just keep it
100%.
simple and perfect.
Yeah,
And it really goes well with Tatcha too, because, like, it's just, like, a few simple things that you can rely on, and
yep,
it just works.
100%. Yeah, like simple, effective ingredients. That's what anybody wants right now. No one has
Exactly.
time for fussy. It's going to be really interesting to see once we get out of this COVID situation where we're going to head to.
To, like, Roaring '20s versus simple?
Right. Yeah. Or if it's celebrating, are we still going to dress up? Are we still going
Exactly.
to, I mean, because people want to get dressed up, but they're not wearing as much.
Ah, that's true,
Like,
right?
especially makeup. Yeah. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
being with Maya, she was like, I just want to feel like myself. She doesn't, also too, she's playing a character on SNL. So everything's constantly changing. But when we were doing press, she was like, I just want to look and feel like my best self.
I
And I
have to
think that's
say
what
those press photos, she looked stunning.
those were
Stunning.
fun. Yeah.
Beautiful, really beautiful, beautiful. Her
Yeah.
skin is
Those were,
probably amazing.
oh, amazing. And
You did a great
she's
job.
just such a good person, you know what I mean? And she felt good. So that goes back to what we were saying. Like, once you
Yeah.
feel good, your pictures says it all.
Well, I think it has to do with having a master at the, makeup artistry end of things, think you have to give yourself a little bit of credit.
It was a great team. It was a really great team.
Aw.
Thanks for listening to our conversation, everybody, and I hope that you check out the links that I have in the show notes for Stop AAPI Hate, and please continue to do what you can. Keep doing what you're doing to stop what's happening out there, and when you see something, say something, do whatever you can. Keep doing it. Next week, it is somebody's birthday, and that somebody is Selena. So I am having a Selena expert on, San Siguenza. He's an incredible artist, a dear, dear friend of mine, and someone who knows so much about Selena. So we are going to celebrate her next week. I hope you will tune in. That's Friday, and I'll see you then. Look Behind the Look is a Vinyl Foot production, written by me, your host, Tiffany Bartok, produced by Jace Bartok, and produced and edited by Kelly Riley, with audio engineering by Nicole Tucker. If you're interested in learning more, find our video version on the YouTube channel Look Behind the Look podcast. There you can see rare photos and clips from our guests. And please follow us on Twitter at LookBehindPod and Instagram at LookBehindTheLook. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe, and tell your friends and spread the word. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or any podcatcher of your choice. Thanks for listening to Look Behind the Look.